All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We are with Cocosing Solar, and we're talking about a webinar on commercial solar, focusing on two factors that we see a lot within businesses who want solar, and that's achieving cost control and using solar to achieve sustainability goals as well. Brief introduction here. I'm David Zelasko. I'm our commercial solar consultant. I've been in solar for about 10 years now and joined the Third Sun team in 2015, working with homeowners and small businesses. And now I work with commercial and non-profits and municipalities of all sizes to help them go solar, focusing a lot on initial design for solar on your property, as well as analyzing electric bills and providing cash flow analysis.
Great to meet everyone. I'm Roberta Washburn. I'm our Director of Solar Operations, and I joined the solar industry over 6 years ago as a team member of Third Sun Solar. I was our Chief Operating Officer for a while, and when we became Cocosing Solar, now our Director of Solar Operations. I am fortunate enough I get to oversee our entire operation, so I get to work with our team and our customers. So it's really the best of both worlds to give mentorship and leadership with our team and learn and grow with them, along with making sure we're coordinating all of our safety, and then get to work with customers to understand their needs and be able to help them forward. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll do a quick review of the agenda so you know what's up for today and what to expect. So you've heard just about us. So now we're going to talk about controlling operating costs, which is very important. Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Lots of folks have heard about that. So we'll go a little bit more into detail with you so you understand more about that. Meeting sustainability goals. We definitely like to work with our customers and understand what their goals are. So we'll talk to you a little bit about that process and our easy steps to go solar. Because it can seem very intimidating at the front end if you're not familiar with all the things that need to happen. And we'll start off talking a little bit about our team. David, if you don't mind moving to the next slide, please. Thanks. So we have dedicated teams. We do a lot of work. We do anything from residential scale solar all the way through commercial, industrial, utility scale. And then we also offer an O&M service and maintenance team so that we're working on systems that we've installed or systems that maybe were not installed by our team but might need maintained. So we have a lot of experience across the board. We're well seasoned in the industry. We have demonstrated success in self-performing. We're local, and our team is long-term committed. The people that are working on these projects in your communities are people that actually are from those communities, live and work there. So they bring that pride with them to the job site every single day to make sure they're delivering a quality product. We believe that we're in developing strong partnerships with our customers so that it's collaborative, communicative, and responsive. We think that's the best way for everyone to accomplish goals is to work together. We've been in the solar industry for over 24 years and in the construction industry for over 73. So we have a lot of team members that have been on our team for extended periods of time. So we bring a variety of experience to every single project with our team. Our solar team is strong, and we are very much strengthened by being backed by Cocosing Industrial. A lot of people know all about Cocosing, and so having a solar division is really, really awesome within the Cocosing Industrial team. And we pride ourselves on being cost effective and bringing customer-focused solutions through the consultative process. We think that's critically important to the success. So a little bit more about our company. We are the longest tenured full-time solar provider here in Ohio. Our company started in June of 2000 on the solar side of the business, and we've been providing those solutions for over 24 years. Cocosing has been a contractor since 1951 and has over 73 years in the industry, construction industry, and we remain family owned, which is a really great attribute to our company. We have completed over 1,500 clean energy installations of various sizes, totaling over 55 megawatts. Our team is trained and experienced from the installation team to the person pulling your permits to the person who's developing your project, all the way, to the person who is purchasing the material that's going to go on your projects. We're a licensed electrical contractor, and we have a strong history and reputation and a large referral network that we certainly pride ourselves on. We love getting referrals from previous customers or having return customers who might have multiple locations. So that's why it's important that we have our collaborative process and we're building long-term partnerships with our customers. Another item that I'm really proud of is that we are part of the Amicus Purchasing Cooperative and the Amicus O&M Cooperative. That is a way to bring additional resources into the team for best practices, better pricing, and just to learn from each other. I'm very, very proud and fortunate enough that I get to sit on the Amicus Solar Cooperative's Purchasing Cooperative Board. And so we're able to get a lot of best practice sharing along with that buying. What sets us apart from others is our reputation with 20 years in the solar industry and over 70 years in construction. We're stable and we're local and we're committed. We're really, really committed to the communities that we work in. Like I said earlier, we have people that live in those communities, and so they want to bring that pride. Our team, if you ask me, they're the best team around. It's my why. It's why I get up every day. It's why I'm excited to come to work and work with every individual. They're passionate people who really pride themselves in their work, and they're well trained, earning a living wage and employed by our company. So we self-perform all of our work. So everyone who comes to that job site is part of our team, which is exciting and able to talk to them. I love nothing more than getting a message from someone on our team about a project and how prideful they are in that project and how well it's going and everything. It's just super awesome to talk to our team that are boots on the ground working on those projects. Our results, we really strive ourselves in our culture of safety being 24/7. It's important that our team is safe at home along with at work. We are really like a family, and so we don't want to see any individual on our team get injured or anything. So we do a lot of training that talks about anything that can happen at home to anything that can happen on the job site so that you can be cognizant and be preventing those accidents out there. So we provide high quality projects and position ourselves as a long-term lasting partner, which we've proven with our 24 years. And then some of our competitive advantages, we're accredited by the BBB. We have some good reviews out there. Like I said earlier, we are part of the Amicus Cooperative, both purchasing and O&M. We were, part of those when those really originally started. So we've been there since the ground up. We have NAVSEP certified team members on our team. This means that they have taken courses and presented experience to be certified in their respective areas, which is really important as we're working on projects that everyone is well trained. NAVSEP is a widely recognized organization in our solar industry, and it stands for the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, for those who might not be familiar with what NAVSEP is. We are also a Tesla Powerwall certified installer. We're part of the ENR, the Energy News Record, and a member of Green Energy Ohio, who's affiliate of SEI. And SEI, for those who are unfamiliar, is Solar Energy Industries Association. And our team is always working to enhance our skills, and stay tuned for additional certificates from our team as we're always taking new training courses and keeping that up to date so that we're learning with all the new technologies. And here's just a list of some of our past customers and clients that we've been lucky enough to work with. We're really prideful of those and hope that we can do additional projects with them or get referrals from these customers in the future for all the hard work that our teams have done there.
Great, thanks, Roberta. As a reminder for all the participants, if you do have any questions as we're going along, feel free to send those into the chat, and at the end of this, we'll be able to answer them for you. And moving on now, I'm going to speak more about the achieving the cost controls and the sustainability goals. So to start, a lot of businesses have, of course, operating costs. Our business has it, so does yours. And what we're finding is a majority of operating costs can be found on the energy side, whether that's heating your building or running your normal operations on electricity. And so solar provides you with that ability to generate your own power. Essentially, what we are doing is installing and designing a power plant for your property so that you can take control of the energy that you need to operate your business. And solar is a great way to do that because it can be placed on many different areas of the property, whether that's the roof, ground mounts, or even parking lots. And so with that, utilizing space on the property that is otherwise is non-utilized can allow you to generate your own power. And solar has the unique benefit because it can fit into the multi applications like this, and it has a minimal moving parts. So it has a lot of a long lifespan, up to typically around 30 years or so, and can ensure that you're creating energy and reducing those costs for decades to come. What we primarily focus on is interconnected grid tied systems. So most of our customers in Ohio and in the surrounding states are connected to large investor-owned utilities that are regulated by their state through the public utility commissions. Through those regulatory bodies, there are rules and regulations to interconnect solar into a commercial property. And so we handle all that on our side and make sure that a system is being designed per their specifications and per code. Another thing a lot of the public utility commissions require is what's called net metering. And this is the process where you're really generating most of your savings. Solar connecting into your electrical system will collect the sun's direct current. It'll go into a device called an inverter, generating alternating current, and then being used in the building. And the magic is really happening in the inverters. The building and the distribution panel will prefer the solar from your inverters. They create what's called a cleaner sine wave, and which lessens your reliance on the grid at that time. So you're using less kilowatt hours, you're pulling less power from the utility, and then you're paying less at that same time as well. Net metering allows, if you are sending more or if you're producing more power than the building needs, and you can actually send that back to the grid, to your utility. And at the end of the billing period, the utility will take a look at how much energy did they take from us. So how much are you taking from the utility and how much are you sending back to the utility? And the difference between those two numbers is how you're billed and credited. And so in Ohio, we have some of our major investor-owned utilities that are regulated by the state. So think AEP, AES in Dayton, Duke Energy, First Energy in the north. We also have a lot of rural co-ops and municipal electric operators as well. So a lot of cities that run their own energy grid. So in those three categories, net metering and interconnection rules will vary. But we have experience with all those types of customers. So we're a great source to show you how it works with your utility and providing you accurate analysis and cost reductions for that. So a big reason we are having an influx of businesses reach out to us is because of the volatility of energy rates. Now more than ever, we've seen through various reasons volatility in the electrical markets. So COVID had a big impact on some of that energy rates. The war in Ukraine in 2022 had a tremendous impact on natural gas prices, which in Ohio specifically, a majority of our energy is coming from natural gas. So we have the benefit of that energy here, but there's a lot of volatility on the global market. And then also right now, what Ohio is seeing in the general region is just a demand for more energy. A lot of manufacturing is coming back to the United States, and specifically in Ohio. Data centers tied to internet infrastructure and various reasons are increasing in this area, specifically in Ohio and in the Mid-Atlantic area. So the demand for energy is going to really increase significantly compared to the supply that we've had. So what we typically do is look at rates and how they've increased over time. So if you look backwards, the last 30 years, there's been an increase about 3% year over year on energy costs. But because of all the items that I just mentioned, looking forward, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility, and what a majority of people assume and have experienced that energy just continues to increase. So solar is a great way to hedge against those rising rates. So if you are generating your own power and the rates for the energy that are going up with your utility, well, the amount of energy and power that is being produced by your system is now going to increase with those increased rates. So your savings increase over time as utility rates increase. One of the biggest things that we're seeing in the region for energy markets is the PJM capacity auction results. These occurred on July 31st of this year. And PJM, for those who do not know, is the local grid operator. They operate in several surrounding states and making sure that we have reliable and affordable energy. And so what PJM does is holds auctions for various years on for their capacity within their grid. And so for the 2025-2026 operating year, we saw about a $14.7 billion came in for costs of operating versus 2.2 million that we saw for 2024. So that's a very significant increase. We're going to share a link in the chat for you, just some resources to look into this. But these are definitely record high prices that we're seeing, and we're going to see that start in about June 1st, typically of 2025. So they've referenced a lot of things that I've already talked about. There's decrease of supply and a lot of plant closures, specifically coal plant retirements in the area. Couple that with increased electricity demands due to data centers and large manufacturing. So, we work with businesses of all sizes. We'll work with a dentist office, a car dealership, all the way up to a large global manufacturer. So all that we couple and call commercial, but each of those have different rate structures with their utility based on how much energy and power they're pulling. And so you can anticipate, based on your type of business, a various increase. But what we're seeing and what we're hearing from some market experts is that anticipating anywhere from a 1 to 4 cent per kilowatt increase starting in June 1st. So this slide is something typical that you would get from our team as we are analyzing your energy costs. So what we like to do is gather as much data as we can on your energy consumption. And so if you are able to send us 12 months of electric bills from your utility, we can gather the data to make sure that we're providing you an accurate cash flow analysis for you to make an informed decision on moving forward with solar. And so we look at 2 data points on consumption, energy use, which is kilowatt hours, and max demand power pull kilowatts. So energy use is power multiplied by time equals energy. So we're looking at those kilowatt hours there. And then we take those data points and look at what is your tariff and that you have with your utility. So like I mentioned before, many different businesses and organizations will be under different tariffs based on their energy needs with the utility. So that understanding that is and how that's specific to you will really help us provide exact and more accurate estimates on your costs pre-solar and post-solar. Additionally, Ohio, right, is a deregulated state. So businesses can and organizations can shop around and look for third-party suppliers. We take that into account as well. So understanding what your current supply rate is and how long that term is for, and we can put that into our calculations. So this is what you're seeing on the screen in the example company in Northeast Ohio that we're working with, uses just under 1 million kilowatt hours a year. And they have the illuminating company, and that GS means general service secondary. So that is the tariff that they're working under. So within that, we break it into 3 categories. These tariffs comprise of about 20 riders, and we break it down into the other section, which is basically fixed costs. So if you didn't use any energy, you'd be still paying these fixed charges. Energy charges that are kilowatt hour based riders, and then demands. And so you can see here, this system is pre-solar is on the left. So what they're using right now. And then by implementing a system, this is what they could see post-solar. And so this system is saving them just over $60,000 a year. What we want to reiterate and specify is why we do this. Why do we break these down? And that's to ensure that you're getting accurate estimates. A lot of people that are unfamiliar with the markets or national players will just use what's called a blended rate. And that will make your savings look a lot better. But by separating energy and demand, then we can give you a little bit more of exact reduction. So you can see here, majority of this company's costs, about 50,000 or more of that, about $56,000 of the 62 are coming from energy savings, where only a small fraction is coming from demand. So everyone's going to be different. We take the time to do the due diligence and make sure that you're getting accurate estimates. And then here, same system. The system is about a 700 kilowatt system or so. And we're looking at initial costs of over $1 million. And over time, electric bill savings over a 30-year lifespan, about $2.7 million over that time. So you can see solar has a tremendous impact on reducing that operating cost and in utilizing, again, any rooftop, ground mount space, or parking space that is available to you. One piece we mentioned we talk about, and we've done several webinars and videos on our YouTube page about this topic, but in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act increased the amount of solar incentives that are available to you. A lot of this will depend on your tax liability, your tax structure. So I do encourage you all to talk to a tax professional. What we do is let you know what's available in your area and for your type of organization. So right now, the base tax credit for a project under 1 megawatt AC is 30%. And then there's 10% adders on various items. So there's a 10% adder if you use domestic content. So a percentage of the project having the materials made here in the United States could add an additional 10% to that 30% base. What we're seeing a lot in Ohio specifically is the energy community tax credit. So a lot of the state has what are called statistical areas that have fossil fuel employment. So depending on that type of employment, you can qualify for a 10% energy community. And also, if your business is near a coal plant closure or within a census tract of a coal plant closure, since I believe it's since 2000, then you qualify for a 10% energy community tax credit as well. And then there are some low income community tax credits out there based on an area that is low income. These are application based, so the IRS and Department of Energy is only allocating a certain amount for these projects. So it's not as guaranteed as the energy community. If you're in a census tract that has a coal plant closure, then you do qualify for that 10%. Low income community, you have to go through a competitive application process. Now, businesses or projects that are using or installing a system that is above a megawatt AC requires prevailing wage and apprenticeship program. So there are labor requirements to get the full 30% for systems of that size. You can see here, if you do not meet these requirements, that 30% will go down to 6%, and those adders go down to 2%. So as Roberta mentioned before, Kokosian is uniquely positioned by self-performing our work. So through all stages, we're not subcontracting majority of the project. And so we are also through Kokosian Industrial and Kokosian Construction, are a union-based company. So we are able to meet these requirements without subcontracting the work out. And so that's a uniquely position that a lot of customers are working with us for, because they want to work with one contractor as opposed to multiple contractors to meet these requirements. So that wraps up a lot of what we discuss on a day-to-day basis around reducing operating costs. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to include those in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end here. But another part of this program was really talking about sustainability goals. And we get a lot of these from various organizations. And what a lot of them are finding is it's a win-win. We're looking at meeting carbon reduction goals within an organization while also saving on their operating costs. So some of the sustainability goals and what we're seeing is general reduction of operations environmental impact. We are seeing a lot of companies, specifically in certain industries like the auto industry, that are requiring their manufacturing and even their suppliers to reduce their carbon emissions. A lot of companies that are headquartered in the EU or in Japan are also requiring throughout their operations to reduce carbon. So some of our customers will come to us and say, hey, I need to reduce 500 metric tons of carbon dioxide in my operations per year. Can solar help us? And absolutely. So we can design a system around that. The Environmental Production Agency has a greenhouse gas calculator that we utilize to say, okay, this system is going to produce X amount of kilowatt hours. How much per year is that avoiding in CO2? And so that is a big part of our roles these days, in addition to all the economic analysis that we do as well. So a lot of these companies are required ESG reporting, again, a lot in the EU and Japan, and we're seeing more and more in the United States as well. Companies do these goals to enter new markets. So if you're if you make a piece of material that, let's say Walmart wants to buy and have you as a customer, well, they have goals that you need to meet and make sure that you have green operations for them to use you as a vendor. And then on same concept, if you're already working with a company and you want to maintain your current customer, then you need to meet some of their carbon reduction goals. It's also another great way to engage employees. So what companies are finding that hiring can be competitive and be able to show that they have sustainability goals and targets that they are meeting, and be able to point to a solar carport in their parking lot and showing their team that they're making progress in these departments. It helps engage employees with retention and hiring younger employees. Another piece that we'll see too is specifically in the large manufacturing, is meeting greenhouse gas emission targets. There is an entity that about 90% of Fortune 500 companies use to measuring their carbon and greenhouse gas emissions, and it's under Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions. So companies that are looking at reducing the emissions from their company-owned assets, that's under Scope 1. So thinking of maybe you have forklifts in your warehouse that run on propane, reducing those emissions and going to electric forklifts is a good way to hit Scope 1 emissions. Also, if you're using a generator for your operations, that is running on gas or propane, solar can be a good alternative with the addition of batteries to reducing Scope 1 emissions as well. Scope 2 is being able to control your energy, and so indirect emissions from the local utilities. So replacing your utilities energy with solar is a great way to meet Scope 2. So if your utility in your area grid is running on coal, well, then you can reduce 50 or 25% of your energy from that coal with solar. That's a great way to meet these Scope 2. And then, like I mentioned before, indirect emissions from company supply chain. So if you're an auto manufacturer and you are buying a piece of material from another supplier, if you have them move and reduce their carbon emissions, then that auto manufacturer can claim that under Scope 3. So I'm sure a lot of you that are familiar with these are operating in this capacity. So it's something that is a reminder that solar is a great way to hit some of these scope changes on your greenhouse gas reporting. And then this is just a sample of what we provide. Very basic and easy to digest numbers that are included in all our proposals. So the same system I showed you before is able to reduce metric tons of CO2 by 582 per year. And so again, a lot of companies will come to us and say, hey, we need to hit this carbon reduction goal. And we were able to quickly put that together in our proposals for them as well. All right. So now I think it'd be a good time we could answer some questions. And if you haven't already and some pop in your mind, just feel free to put them in the chat, and Roberta and I will get to those.
Yeah, if you have any questions, it looks like we have a couple already, but if you have a question or two and you haven't posted them in the Q&A box, please go ahead and do that, and we'll start working through those questions now. So David, we have a question up from someone who wants to know what organization offers the greenhouse gas reduction calculator.
Yeah, great question. So we use the EPA. So you can just Google EPA greenhouse gas calculator, and there's a ton of different metrics that you can put in and different formulas that you can use. What we do is use the avoided energy from the solar. So the solar produces 1 million kilowatt hours a year. We put that in, and it shows us what that carbon reduction goal will come out to be. it gives us that CO2. It gives us the amount of homes it would equivalent to how many miles driven that are taken off the road. So it's a great calculator, and that's the one that we're most familiar with.
Awesome. Great. Well, we have several questions coming in, so let me just ask a couple more and share those with you. What are the upfront costs of installing a commercial solar energy system?
Yeah, so the upfront costs vary. We know we do commercial systems that can cost anywhere from $75,000 to $10 million. I mean, it really it varies depending on how much energy you use and how much space you have available on your property. So a lot of times we are limited to the roof size, the ground size, the parking lot size, and then coupling that with your consumption. Um, I mentioned before we size systems based on interconnection rules. Excuse me. And in Ohio, you cannot size a system to interconnect into a local utilities grid larger than 120% of your consumption. And so we'll work with you on understanding what your consumption is. And you may have a 40,000 square foot roof, but maybe we only need 10,000 of that to get 100% of your energy consumption. So everything is going to be very customized to you, your property, and your energy consumption.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that. We have another really great question, which I think we hear this a lot from other customers. What types of tax credits and incentives are available for businesses or government facilities installing solar? I know you talked about them a little bit, but maybe if we can remind folks about those.
Yeah, so the tax credits mostly are federal based, especially in Ohio. So you have a 30% base tax credit and then additional adders that are up to 10% for energy communities, um, domestic content, and low income communities. And so yeah, I encourage you to check out our website or look at our YouTube. We have a lot of videos and good content on some of these tax credits that are available. And we'll focus on what's available in your area. We'll include those in our proposal, and then you take those to your tax professional and see how that applies to your specific liability and in tax structure.
We also dropped into the chat earlier the deep dive into commercial tax credits under the new IRA. So feel free, anyone on here that wants to go out and grab that. There is a YouTube video that we have posted out there. Next question. How much maintenance is required for a commercial solar system? Maybe I'll grab that one if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So a commercial solar system, while we would love to say everything is maintenance free and nothing ever, has an incidental break, that's just not true. It's just like when you buy anything, they come with manufacturer warranties and workmanship warranties and a variety of things. So things do break. But we have a service O&M team here, and we offer our customers with a variety of options. Customers can sign up for us to come out annually and review their system to make sure that it's producing as expected, or they can give us a call if they notice that they're having an issue. Either of those things are okay. And we have things in our offering that we can monitor the system for customers and have a priority truck roll. So really it fits every customer's need. When we talk about customization, we customize from the solar system to the O&M offering that they get, but things do break. And, we do recommend that you get it checked out once a year. And we do recommend that if you don't have us monitoring your system, that you're monitoring your system every day so that you can maximize the benefits of it. And that way, if something does happen, you can get us out right away to get that fixed and get your system up and running. Some other questions that are coming in. Can solar panels be installed on any type of roof, or are there some specific requirements, David? I bet you get this question a lot from folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the specifics of your property, we look at the type of roof that you have and the age of the roof. So understanding age is really important, because like I mentioned before, the system will last about 30 years. So if you need to replace your roof in the next 5, typically it's best to go and replace that roof first. Is there I wouldn't guess really best roof, but we have solutions for all types. So pitch shingle roofs, metal roofs, as well as flat rubber membrane roofs. We have solutions for those. And so we'll work with you and see what the best option is for your specific roof.
Great. Thanks. That's probably really helpful for folks to understand, like, is their roof good for solar or not?
Yeah.
So another question, how long does the process take, from start to finish, essentially, from the initial consultation to when I can turn my system on?
Yeah. And that'll vary based on system size and complexity, and what we typically see anywhere from 6 to 12 months is a good time frame of from start to completion. What the big variables in that are is, again, system size. The larger the system, the longer and more reviews that we typically need to have with your utility. So the utility needs to approve of the interconnection of this system. And so we will work with them and have a lot of experience with all the major utilities in the state. From there, an installation could take 2 weeks on a small commercial, and it could take a couple months on some larger commercials. So it really does vary on size.
And I think that's one of the things that we also pride ourselves in is once we understand the scope of your project, then we're going to look at that project, deliver a timeline for you, kind of give you what we think it's going to be from start to finish, how long it's going to take to get through the utility interconnection or through local permitting to get the materials and all of that. So our project managers, after the project is sold, will really dive into that and go over and keep you informed about your whole project timeline as we move through it, along with wrap up at the end. So just a reminder, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in Q&A. We have a few more questions, but the question box does look like it's winding down here. So don't hesitate to drop one in there. We'd love to answer your questions. One of the next questions, David, is, will I need to reconfigure my current electrical system to accommodate solar?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's possible. Most of the time, the answer is no. It really depends on what type of equipment that you have and the size of the system. So a lot of times we'll look at your electrical, and what I typically ask for customers in addition to electric bills is also any electrical line diagrams that you have for the facility. So we can understand where an appropriate and efficient point of connection would be. We can add transformers to projects or PV load centers for installation. It is rare that you'll have to reconfigure your electrical system unless you want a system that is larger than what your current system can handle. So at those times, sometimes customers will upgrade the transformer that the utility is providing them if the utility will allow that, or upgrading your main distribution panel, higher amperage to meet a solar system. But most of the time what we're doing is retrofitting, and the more information that we have, the better to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. And those diagrams come in really handy as we're putting together that pricing proposal, so we can dial in that price as much as possible for the customer to keep it cost effective. Another question that we have here is, how long do solar panels typically last, and what happens at the end of their lifespan?
So panels, the ones that we use right now, have manufacturer warranties that say by year 30, they'll still operate around 80 or 85% of their capacity. So this is a production warranty that the manufacturer offers. They also have product warranties that can range anywhere from 12 to 20 years or so. And so it'll vary by manufacturer. Roberta mentioned earlier the Amicus Solar Cooperative. So that is how we negotiate with high quality manufacturers and use that co-op for bulk purchasing. So we can get really competitive pricing on quality materials. And so a lot of times part of our decision making is what are those warranties, how are those warranty claims, and what is their history and quality. And so those are many things that we'll take a look at. And then end of lifespans, more and more solar is being installed, and solar is growing exponentially. So we are seeing that some of the early solar systems that are 30, 40 plus years old, could be recycled. A lot of this is glass and aluminum framing. And so there are companies and organizations out now, and we've partnered with some through Amicus that will properly dispose and recycle panels. So it's something that's going to be continuing growing as more and more solar comes on.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely getting those panels recycled as more and more solar comes on. The next question, can we get a copy of the presentation slides? Yeah, we would love to share the presentation with everyone. So we will make sure we get that out to all the attendees because we do think that that's important. I know we shared a lot of information in a very short period of time, and you might want to reference that back. And David and I are always happy to answer any questions that might come up even after the presentation has ended. So we have one more question in the box. So if you haven't had a chance to submit your question yet, please do so now. But the next question is, are there advantages or disadvantages of rooftop versus ground mount, assuming either might be a feasible option for a property?
Yeah, this is a great question, and it's a big part of our analysis of your property. Rooftop depends a lot, like I mentioned, on the quality and age of your roof. So if you have a large roof that needs to be replaced, and maybe that's not something that you want to do before solar, and you have the ground space available, then ground mount definitely has its advantages there. Rooftop has the advantage of, a lot of times you're not really using that space, right? You already have equipment up there, HVAC equipment, and solar can work right alongside them. So if you have ground space, but you're wary of using it because maybe your operations or your business may expand and have an addition there, rooftop can be a great option there too. And then rooftop, I would say, has a little bit more operating costs over time, potentially as compared to a ground mount. If it's hard to access your roof and we need to service your system or replace equipment, a ground mount is a little bit more feasible and has better access. So there's a lot of variables to it, and again, it's going to be site specific.
Yeah, no system is perfect over and over for a different customer. We have to design it individually for each customer. Great. Well, that is all the questions I see in the box. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in. We'd love to answer them. And if not, again, you can reach out to us. David has shared his contact information here on this final slide. And if you have additional questions, like I said, we'd be happy to get those answers out to you. We really appreciate everybody joining us today. I know sometimes it's hard to find an hour in your day to step away, but we appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks everyone.